remember the first time I held the award in my hands. The heavy crystal weighed down my palms as camera flashes popped around me. 28 years earlier, I had been picking potatoes in my village outside Kiev, dreaming of words that could change the world. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I'm back in that little house with the tin roof. I tell people when they ask about my journey. The sound of Philadelphia traffic becomes rain on metal, just for a moment. My name is Sofiya Melnik. I'm 58 years old now, but the girl from that Ukrainian village still lives inside me. She's the one who pushed me across an ocean with nothing but a suitcase and a notebook full of scribbled dreams. The Soviet Union was crumbling when I finished high school. Our village teacher, Mrs. Kovalenko, pulled me aside one spring afternoon. "Sofiya, your essays are the best I've seen in 30 years of teaching," she said, her weathered hands gripping mine. "You must find a way to use this gift." I applied to journalism school in Kiev, taking the 4-hour bus ride for entrance exams. My parents couldn't understand why I wouldn't stay home, marry Petro from the neighboring farm, have children. Security and tradition were everything in our world. "What will words feed?" my father asked the night before I left. "Can you eat a newspaper when winter comes?" I didn't have an answer then. I just knew I had to go. In Kiev, I worked nights cleaning office buildings while studying during the day. My dormitory room housed 6 students. We shared one bathroom and took turns cooking on a single hot plate. I wrote articles for small publications that paid me enough for bread and occasionally a piece of chicken. After graduation, the walls started closing in. Journalism in post-Soviet Ukraine was dangerous work. Reporters who asked questions about the new oligarchs disappeared. Newspapers that printed corruption stories mysteriously caught fire. "America values truth-tellers," my journalism professor told me when I confided my fears. "Try for a scholarship." I spent 6 months applying for every program I could find, mailing packages of my work translated into broken English. When the letter came from Temple University in Philadelphia offering me a spot in their graduate journalism program with a partial scholarship, I cried for 3 hours straight. Landing at Philadelphia International Airport in 1995 with $320 to my name in English I could barely speak remains the most terrifying day of my life. "Passport," the immigration officer said, not looking up. I handed it over, heart hammering. Would they change their minds? Send me back? Purpose of visit? Study. Journalist, I stammered. He stamped the passport and handed it back. Just like that, I was in America. The partial scholarship covered tuition but not living expenses. I found a tiny room in a house with 4 other immigrants, 2 Polish brothers, a Romanian woman, and an elderly man from Belarus. Rent was $175 monthly. I stretched my remaining money by eating rice, beans, and the cheapest vegetables I could find at the market. I took a job washing dishes at a diner near campus. The owner, Nick, was Greek and understood what it meant to be new. "My father came here with nothing," he told me, showing me how to operate the industrial dishwasher. "Work hard, learn fast, don't let nobody push you around." I worked from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m., slept for 2 hours, attended classes from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., studied until 8 p.m., then slept another 2 hours before returning to the diner. This was my life for 2 years. My first American winter taught me a new kind of cold, not the bite of Ukrainian frost but the chill of loneliness. I called home once a month, spending $15 for 10 minutes on an international calling card. My mother always cried. My father rarely spoke. "The neighbor's daughter married last week," my mother would say. "Such a beautiful wedding. When will you come home?" I never had an answer. Graduate school was brutal. My English improved, but I still struggled with idioms and cultural references. Professors spoke too quickly. American students formed study groups that didn't include the foreign girl who asked too many questions. "Your ideas are good, but your writing needs work," my advisor told me after I failed my first major assignment. "You think like a Ukrainian journalist." You need to think like an American one. I didn't know what that meant. In Ukraine, the story was in what people wouldn't say. In America, it seemed to be in what they said too much. I took a job at the university newspaper, making $7 per article. The editor, James, became my first American friend. "You have a different eye," he told me after I covered a campus protest. "You see things the rest of us miss." What I saw was privilege. Students protesting meal plans when I knew people at home who would have fought for those discarded leftovers. But I also saw freedom, the ability to question authority without fear of disappearing. After graduation came the real battle. No newspaper would hire me. My accent was too thick, my writing too formal, my name too difficult to pronounce. "We need someone who understands local issues," one editor told me after an interview. "Our readers connect with writers they can relate to," said another. I took a job at a local Russian-language paper for $300 a week. It kept me from starving but pushed me further from my dream. I wasn't writing about America, I was writing about immigrants' memories of places they'd left behind. For 5 years, I lived in a studio apartment in North Philadelphia where sirens became my lullaby. I sent job applications every week. I pitched stories to editors who never replied. I volunteered at community centers to understand American neighborhoods. I dated American men who found my accent charming but my ambition confusing. "Why not teach ESL?" one boyfriend suggested. "There's good money in that." I didn't want to teach English. I wanted to use it to expose truths. My breakthrough came unexpectedly. A series of apartments in immigrant neighborhoods caught fire within 2 months. The English-language papers reported them as unfortunate accidents. Living among immigrants, I heard different stories, of landlords who threatened deportation when tenants complained about faulty wiring, of city inspectors who took cash to ignore code violations. I spent 3 weeks gathering evidence, interviewing victims in their native languages, tracking property records through public archives. I pitched the story to the Philadelphia Inquirer with a simple email: "Your paper is missing the real story." An editor called me the next day. "Can you be here in an hour?" The exposé ran as a 3-part series. 2 landlords were arrested. City Council held emergency sessions on housing code enforcement. I received threatening phone calls for weeks. The paper hired me as a part-time contributor at $500 per piece. Not enough to live on, but a foot in the door. I kept my job at the Russian paper and wrote for the Inquirer on my days off. For 2 years, I pursued stories nobody else wanted: immigrant labor abuse, corruption in community development funds, patient mistreatment in low-income health clinics. I worked 80-hour weeks and lived on coffee and determination. My first major award came for uncovering a scheme where city contractors hired undocumented workers, then called immigration authorities on payday to avoid payment. The investigation led to policy changes and $12.2 million in back wages for workers. When the Inquirer finally offered me a staff position at $45,000 a year, I cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes before accepting. After 10 years in America, I could finally afford an apartment with windows that kept out the cold and a refrigerator that didn't make frightening noises at night. "You've earned this," my editor said when I expressed disbelief. "Your work has changed lives." Over the next decade, my byline became associated with investigations that made powerful people uncomfortable. I won national awards. I published a book about immigrant exploitation. I became an American citizen in a courthouse where I had once reported on deportation hearings. My parents never visited America. My father died still believing I had made a mistake leaving Ukraine. My mother sends me packages of dried mushrooms she collects in the forest and asks when I'll come home to stay. "This is home now," I tell her, though part of me will always be that village girl with dirt under her fingernails. Success didn't erase the hardship. America offered opportunity but never guarantees. For every story that made a difference, there were dozens that changed nothing. For every award, there were months of doubt. What I learned is that dreams don't arrive fully formed. They come in pieces that you assemble through years of persistence. I still keep the notebook I brought from Ukraine. Its page is yellow now, filled with the handwriting of a girl who didn't know how hard the journey would be. Sometimes I read it and wonder if I would have left had I known. When young journalists ask me for advice, especially immigrants, I tell them, your accent is not a weakness. Your different perspective is your strength. The stories only you can see are the ones that need telling most. Last year, I returned to my village for the first time in 15 years. The little house with the tin roof still stood, though no one lived there now. I walked through the potato fields where I once dreamed of escape. An old woman recognized me, Mrs. Kovalenko's daughter. My mother always said you would become something special, she told me. She kept all the newspapers with your name. I hadn't known. Mrs. Kovalenko died before I won my first award. In journalism, we're taught that every story needs an ending. But the true stories never really end. They continue in the lives changed, in policies reformed, in truths revealed. My name is Sofiya Melnik. I'm an investigative journalist who crossed an ocean to find my voice. If you're standing at the edge of your own ocean right now, wondering if the journey is worth the risk, I can only offer this: the most valuable stories are the ones that cost us something to tell. What truth is waiting for you to uncover it?